By the time I was 21, I was on trial 5 times. They were surrounding our family 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We were under constant surveillance. You're part of the life, you're part of the violence. But is it your first act or is it your last resort?
One of the biggest money earners the mob had seen since Al Capone.
A real-life former Mafia boss.
Michael Franzese.
It's like any other organization. If you don't have money, you don't survive. People think you come into that life right away, you're making big money. It's just the opposite. You got to pay up. My dad was the underboss of the family, so I grew up in that life. At the height of our operation, we were bringing in between $7 and $10 million a week.
Was there any point when you were doing that where you thought, this is too good to be true, like it's not going to end well?
I think I'd still be doing it if my partner didn't become an informant and just get himself in trouble and blow the operation. Now, I always had the FBI on me. They really wanted a conviction on me. They thought they were going to take me down. He was going to give me 50 years, 100 years maybe, and I beat the case. If you want a good shot in life of getting somewhere, 2 things very important. Number 1, you must surround yourself with the right people. Number 2,
now, before we jump into today's episode, I just want to mention that this podcast is brought to you by me and everything that I have built to help you guys level up. If you want to transform your physique, build muscle, lose body fat, build strength, then you have the Thirst app. This has everything inside that you could possibly need to get yourself in shape, to hold yourself accountable as well. I also have the Digital Playbook, which is a step-by-step guide to help you guys build a following, monetize the following, and also build a strong personal brand. This is everything which I have done over the past nearly 10 years to allow myself to live a life of financial freedom and also geographical freedom. I can basically do whatever I want. Life is good. And I also have my newsletter, which has been revamped, where I'll share exclusive podcast insights, my raw thoughts on business, fitness, and much, much more. So if you're interested about any of those, check out the description. You'll find the links to all of them. Now let's get cracking with the episode. Thank you for having me here at your studio.
well, thank you for making that long trip. Appreciate it.
It's a long trip, but it's been worth it. I'm getting some inspiration to maybe do one of my own. There's a lot going on. I like it.
Well, it's comfortable.
Yeah.
When we do this a lot, we got to be comfortable, right?
Yeah.
It's nice.
Do you ever think back to what your life would have been like if you'd become a doctor?
That's so long ago. As much as I was on that road for a while, I don't know if I was cut out for that, honestly. I think my life had to go the way it went.
Mm.
So,
did you ever think you were going to be cut out for the things that you've done?
this here now, not in a million years. If you would have told me 25 years ago that I'd be speaking all over the world and writing books and doing all of that, I would have said you're crazy. Never anticipated it, never even thought of it.
No. Do you think if you, like, let's say, for example, if you had gone down that route of being a doctor, that's what you were studying to become, do you think you could have supported your family, your brother, sister, mother, when your father was locked away?
No, because my dad went away when I was just entering college.
Mm-hmm.
So I had 6-7 years ahead of me that I had to be in school. You don't make money there, And, there's this big myth when you're in the mob life that you go away and everybody takes care of you. The family takes care of you. It's not true. Mm-hmm. My dad had a couple of things going on the street, but after about 2 years, the money ran out. That was it. And then we were on our own. So, I was basically forced to help my family survive.
Yeah. How quickly did the money start coming in as soon as you...
Well, I was fortunate. I was very aggressive on the street. I was the kind of guy that if I'd have money in my pocket, I was a wreck. I had to have money. It was inbred in me, I guess. I think that's an innate quality.
Mm-hmm.
So, I had a little bit of a head for business. I figured some things out early on and got into it right away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how old are you then? And what was this? You were in New York at the time.
Yeah.
What was it like?
Well, look, my dad was the underboss of the family, so I grew up in that life. My dad was extremely high profile. He was always in trouble, always on trial, always getting arrested. So I lived and grew up with that. So I understood the life. But I think life in New York was better back then than it is now, just different, more community, more family, more things like that. But I had to create opportunities to earn money during that time. And that's what I did. When I got involved with the family a little bit, I got some things going for myself and we started to earn. Mm-hmm. But I got in trouble right away. I mean, by the time I was 21, I was on trial 5 times. Yeah, I mean, they came on me immediately. So, I mean, I had a lot of things to deal with, but we overcame them and, started to make some money.
Why do you think that was? You think because your dad went away, were they automatically thinking, oh, his son's going to be up to no good?
Yeah.
So they would keep an eye on you?
Right away.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't like them then. I mean, I had many run-ins with them when I was younger, only because they were surrounding our family 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We were under constant surveillance. So I had run-ins with them at times, just verbal run-ins. And so I didn't like them. They didn't like me.
Mm-hmm.
So we started off on the wrong foot. Let's put it that way. And when my dad went away and I'm on my own, they started watching me.
Mm-hmm.
So
you stayed away from the mob life. It does not get involved with the drugs. Stay away from drugs.
Not during my era. We weren't allowed. We were told straight out, you deal with drugs, you die.
Okay.
Period. And I know for a fact, people got hurt as a result of that.
Mm-hmm.
That's not to say I get hit up on this all the time when I say we didn't do drugs. And, oh, come on, Michael, you guys are in the drug business. And I say, listen, I'm not saying guys weren't doing things, small-time guys, trying to make a few bucks here and there. They're street guys. But we weren't allowed to do it.
Yeah.
And if we did it in any big way, we were in trouble. I know guys that got killed because of it. So, I mean, we weren't allowed to deal with drugs.
It's tempting when it's kind of being dangled in front of you and there's like, could potentially be very lucrative, but then again, you're
Well, personally, I had a problem with that because my sister died of an overdose. My brother was a drug addict for 25 years. And I just didn't like drugs, period. But, look, is there money in it? Of course. But to me, it was a dirty business. And fortunately, the family that I was with, the Colombos, we stayed away from it. My boss didn't believe in it. A lot of guys stood away from it. So it was only some of the small-time guys that were trying to earn a buck here and there that they were making small buys and sales. Nothing major.
Mm-hmm. So what type of opportunities were available at that point in time?
Well, you had to create your own, basically. I mean, I had some legitimate things going on. I was able to acquire 2 automobile dealerships. I had a leasing company. I had a couple of auto body shops back then. So I was doing some legit things. Then I had a flea market operation I was involved with where I started shylocking money to all the people out there that, would come in and all the vendors. And I was charging them interest and making good money because I had a captive audience with them. So started doing that. And then just one thing developed after another, Like I said, I had a kind of an entrepreneurial mind. So I just kept figuring things out. That's what you do when you're on the street. You figure things out. And, one thing led to another until I think everybody knows that I got involved in the gas business. And basically it was a scheme to defraud the government out of tax on every gallon of gasoline. And that was a major operation. And I ran that for about 7 years.
Yeah. And you were dealing with a lot of cash.
We were bringing, at the height of our operation, we were bringing in between $7 and $10 million a week. It's better than drugs because it was taxing me. Yeah. Yeah. And the government, they didn't know what we were doing. They couldn't figure it out for a long time. As a matter of fact, I think I'd still be doing it if my partner didn't become an informant, get himself in trouble and blow the operation.
Yeah, I was going to say, was there any point when you were doing that where you thought, this is too good to be true, like it's not going to end well?
I always knew that there would be an end to it, but I'll give you an example. 5 years into the operation, somebody came to me and said, Mike, come on, you got all the money you need. Why are you going to continue in this? And I said, well, at some point in time, they're going to catch on to what I'm doing. I says, and you get as much jail time for $1 million as you do for $1 billion. So I may as well keep going. What's the difference, right? Why should I give it to somebody else? And that was my attitude back then, Yeah. Which is true. You get as much money, you get as much time for $1 million as you do for $1 billion. There's no differentiation there. So I just kept going until, like I said, my partner got himself in trouble and he and I created the operation. He got in trouble on an unrelated cause, but I was the one they wanted and I was his ticket out. So he became an informant. He blew the operation, told them whatever we were doing. That was the end of it.
How did you know who to trust back then? Like there must have been corrupt police everywhere. You don't even know if the people you're working with are snitching.
Well, you don't. I mean, look, I found out there was a guy around us, you might have heard his name. His name was Greg Scarpa. He was an informant for over 20 years. He was a captain with me. And obviously I was with the guy quite a bit. When I found that out, I was worried, honestly. 20 years, he's an informant, and we're working with the guy, a couple of times a week. He never said anything to put me in trouble, but it goes to show you don't know. You don't know really what's going on in that life. Another guy that I was, Willie Boy Johnson, I was shylocking money to him. He was around John Gotti, but John was okay with me dealing with him. He turned out to be an informant.
Mm-hmm.
Again, and these are guys that I was trusted. You don't know. You're on the street, you don't know.
You must have had such a high stress tolerance. I don't know how having all these different operations running, not knowing who to trust, whilst you've got the police who won't get off your back. And then you've got the family to deal with as well. There's a lot going on.
It's a lot of stress, but I'll give you an example. I went to, about a year ago, I went to the doctor. You have this, I forget what they call it, when you lose your beard a little bit.
Oh, alopecia.
Alopecia, yeah. So I go to the doctor and I said, "What is this?" And he said, "Well, it's alopecia." He said, how do you get that? He said, "Well, do you have a lot of stress?" I said, "I don't know." What is stress? I have no idea. I've been dealing with stuff my whole life, so I just deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
I would imagine it affects you in some way, but I don't feel it.
Mm.
I don't. I'm so used to it. I'm just so used to it.
Well, I think it's some of the most successful people in business who are just responsible for billions and tens of thousands of staff. They deal with it.
You just deal with it. I would imagine it's stressful and maybe it comes out in certain ways, but you don't feel it.
Mm. Yeah, because I remember speaking to someone on my podcast, it was like a year ago. I was wondering how I could get rid of stress.
Mm-hmm.
And they said to me, "Why do you want to get rid of stress? Like, stress is a part of life. What you want to do is build up your tolerance so you can handle stress.
Yeah.
And if you can build up more, then you can handle more stress. And you can just go with your day-to-day life and not let it affect you."
Yeah. I think that's how you deal with it. You don't dwell on it. You don't think about it. Look, when you're on the street like that and you were as high profile as I was and had so much going on, you just have to work. You can't worry about how it's impacting you.
Is there anything that you miss from those days?
Yeah. Listen, look, there's parts of the life that I enjoyed. There's guys, I had some very tight friends. They're all gone now. But look, I don't think there's anything more powerful, maybe a marriage, but other than that, there's nothing more powerful than a group of guys getting together. I had a very idealistic view of that life. Come into the life, they told me, wherever you go in the world, don't worry about anything. You'll have a brother, we'll have somebody there. Don't ever worry about your wife, your daughter, your mother, your sister. Nobody will ever abuse them, your family. I got your back, you got mine. That's very powerful. So I kind of miss that camaraderie that we had with the guys. Yeah, that's a powerful thing for men to have in their life. And I enjoyed that. And then, of course, you're making money and people catering to you. I had my own plane, my own helicopter. I had houses in various parts of the country. So, we were living good at a young age in life. So it was good.
How old are you during this time?
Well, when I was up to, I started really making money in my mid-20s. So by the time I was 30, I was flying pretty high. I had planes, helicopter, the whole bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it was pretty early.
And this is one thing that I've always been curious about. When you're dealing with such a large amount of cash, how do you reinvest that and clean it? Because sure, there's not many places that will accept it.
No. I give you an example. We had a lot of cash. Initially, we had a lot of cash. And then at some point in time when the law changed and you had to become a wholesaler, complicated, but we started doing a lot of wire transfers. So I had foreign banks that I was dealing with in Austria mainly, a little bit in the Caribbean, but Austria mainly. And we had a lot of cash collected from our gas stations because I had over 350 gas stations we either owned or operated, one of the two, leased them, owned them, operated, whatever. And so we had a lot of cash coming in. So I had a guy in a bank, I don't want to mention his name, and poor guy went through a lot of headaches because of it. But I called him one day and I said, "Rocco, you got a basement in this bank?" And he says, "Yeah, why?" I said, "Come on, let's go downstairs." So we go downstairs. And I said, "Rocco, look, business is really good for me right now." I said, "I'm going to have a lot of cash." I said, "You can't handle it upstairs." I says, "But here's what I'd like to do. I'll refinish the whole basement. We'll put a safe in here. hire a couple of tellers, we'll get a couple of counting machines. I says, and let this be my room. I said, all at my expense. He says, you got it. And so I built a whole room for him down there. We hired 2 tellers that had the counting machines, and we're bringing in cash every single day. And, we're counting it. Some of it I was moving out, physically moving out to other banks, and others we were wiring out. It was a big operation just to handle the cash.
You still got people on your case trying to like find out where.
Oh gosh, they wrote a book. The government hired an investigator. His name was Pena or something, to try to find out where I had my money. And he wrote a whole book about it. Never found it. Tried to, but it was. I mean, it's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
You don't complain about something like that, but it was a lot of work.
Tell me, is the mob still a thing in New York at the present day?
It is. It's not nearly the same as it was in my era or before me. I always say the golden years in that life, mid-40s to the mid-80s, when they really cracked down with the Racketeering Act. It was a RICO statute that destroyed whatever we really had going. They're still there. 5 families still there. They got smart, pretty well low-key right now, but it's not nearly what it was when I was around because they took all the union control away. They took a lot of power centers that we had, and they took it away.
What about like in Italy, Sicily?
Italy's still strong. Yeah. I mean, look, the Italian government came down on them too, but they're still strong. I mean, in Sicily, they control a lot in Sicily, for sure. Yeah.
How do you know if somebody is somebody not to be messed with, like who is like a genuinely powerful, scary individual? Is there any signs? Because what I've noticed, especially on social media, where it might be, those people who are super loud and they act like they're a tough guy who's making all the money, they're usually not about that life. The ones that are really about that life probably don't even have social media.
Yeah. No, they don't last. The guys, look, there was a guy by the name of Roy DeMeo. I always use Roy because everybody knows him. Do you ever hear that name?
No.
Roy was a serial killer. Probably killed 200 guys.
Like he actually did that?
He actually killed. I mean, he and his crew. But his answer to everything was just kill the guy, right? And he ended up getting killed because who's going to deal with a guy like that? You may as well just get rid of him. You never know what he's going to do. He's a loose cannon.
Yeah.
But people would say to me, Michael, were you afraid of Roy? Because I knew Roy fairly well. I said, why would I need to be afraid of him? I can shoot the same way he can. I'm a made guy he is. He's not going to hurt me. If I think he is, I'm going to act first, right? I'm not going to allow that to happen. We're both capable. He's just a serial killer. That's his answer to everything. And people say, well, that's what the mob did to him. I said, no, the mob didn't do that. The mob made it easier for him. He would have been a serial killer whether he was in the mob or not. It just happened to be where he ended up. But, it's people like that, they don't last. I knew so many guys that threw their weight around, wanted to talk like tough guys. And at the end of the day, you say, who needs this guy? Just get rid of him. And he's gone, It's the guys that don't mess with this guy because tomorrow you could not be here. You know what I mean? And there were guys like that.
They usually be like the quietest people.
Yeah. Like my father was a tough guy. You don't mess with my dad.
Yeah.
You don't mess with him. My boss at the time, Carmine Persico, tough guy. He said, Michael, were you ever afraid in that life? I said, yeah, I'd be afraid to step out of line because I know the people above me were very capable of handling it. So you stay in line. But we all know how to shoot. We all were capable of doing that. So you don't fear somebody unless you have a reason to be afraid.
Yeah. But would that usually be from word of mouth or just feeling the vibe from that
Well, it's both, reputation too, because look, I was one of the youngest guys in that life. So a lot of guys were there for a long time before me, and you get to learn who was a real guy and who was just one of the guys because they're there. So you know that.
And the top guy, like the big boss, do they go out and about in public and go to bars and restaurants and things like that, or are they very much staying at home?
No, they don't stay at home. But look, you had your John Gotti types that like to be in front of the camera, like to be out there, And then you had the Carlo Gambino types who ran the biggest family in the world, in the country, I shouldn't say in the world, and you never seen him. And he ran his family for 20 years. Never even went to prison, really. He did a little time, but nothing substantial, and created the biggest family in the country. Very low key, stayed in the shadows. I'm sure he went to restaurants and things like that, but he didn't want the limelight at all. Gotti was different. He was always in front of the limelight, but who would you rather be?
Yeah.
Carlo Gambino died in his home with his family around him. John Gotti died in jail.
Mm.
Yeah.
If there's any dead or alive mob boss, drug lord that you could potentially have the opportunity to have dinner with, who would you choose and why?
It would be Frank Costello.
Why?
Because he was a guy that did things right. Because, number one, they called him the prime minister. He had tremendous political connections. He was very smart. He had a huge gambling operation. He knew business. And he realized that violence was a last resort. He wanted to run his family like a business. And he did for a long time. He took over for actually Genovese. While Genovese went away, Lucky Luciano was that same family. But when I studied him, I didn't know him. My dad obviously knew him. I said, he's the guy that if I were to be a boss, I'd pattern myself after him. Violence, last resort, business important, get your political connections, do it the right way.
So this is a guy who built himself up to the top without having to use violence, or at least very last.
Last resort. Yeah. I mean, we all have to get involved in violence. You're part of the life, you're part of the violence. But is it your first act? Or is it your last resort? And the smart ones, it becomes a last resort. Yes. Because look, it's one of the reasons why we didn't get involved in drugs, because drugs is a dirty business. It brings too much attention. And you can't, when you're involved in drugs, you can't have law enforcement, really supporting you. You're in gambling. They don't care about that. They used to I had bookmakers working for me. They used to tell me, when there was going to be arrest, hey, we need an arrest. You guys will get a fine, you'll get out, but we need an arrest. They didn't care about gambling. Now the government's biggest gamblers. But drugs was dirty. So you try to do things that you want your organization to survive, because we're still on the street, we're still criminals, we're still doing bad things. But you got to lessen the damage. It's damage control.
Yeah. I can imagine you learn a lot from that life, which could be applied into business today, particularly the negotiations.
Absolutely. Hey, business is business. Whether you're doing it on the street, you're doing it in a boardroom. It's business. You got pretty much a lot of the same techniques and tactics that you use. I mean, I learned on the street.
Yeah. Was there any particular business venture that was surprisingly lucrative? That was legit?
Well, I mean, look, I had my hands in a lot of different things. I had a film production company, but the industry was different then. I was able to make a lot of money in that business, but it was different back then than it is today. Today, it's a little more difficult. I had 2 automobile agencies. We made a lot of money there, very successful. I had a couple of restaurants that I owned. I had nightclubs that I got involved in. When you get involved, these guys come to you, and look, there is a little, hey, you're in a club business. You're gonna be shooken down by somebody. It may as well be me, because I'll be a good partner. I'll save you from all the other guys, And that's the line you give them, basically. Because if it's not me, it's going to be somebody else, but I'll be your best partner. Trust me. Okay, you got a piece, and that's how it went in the street. But anything more lucrative than the other? I mean, other than it, look, the gas business outweighed everything, but we were stealing tax money. But, I had a lot of success in the things that I tried to get involved in. But I worked hard. Didn't just happen. I worked hard.
So what happens with you? The gas thing is going well, but then you get locked up for that.
Yeah, I took a plea.
So does that mean that all businesses which you had running, could you continue to operate them whilst you were inside, or did they just?
No. I mean, I sold off when I knew things were closing in on me, because I went to trial 5 times. I beat all the cases. But I knew when my partner became an informant that the gas business was going to be a problem. And so I cut my losses by taking a plea, because I knew they really wanted a conviction on me. Giuliani put me on a big case. They thought they were going to take me down. He was going to give me 50 years, 100 years maybe. And I beat the case. So they really wanted a conviction on me. So I knew I had some leverage with them. When I offered to take a plea, they were like stunned and they jumped at it. They really jumped at it. I said, wow. So we negotiated for a 10-year sentence. I had $15 million restitution, $5 million in forfeitures. And I started.
What does that mean? Because I don't remember.
Well, forfeitures mean my assets. I had to give it to them. So I gave them the plane. I gave them the helicopter, take it. And some property that I had. And then I had to pay him $14.7 million. And I knew that they would try to take other things that maybe, so I started selling things off, sold my agency, sold everything. So I really didn't have much left when I went to prison. I'd rather have the cash so my wife can live without working and take care of my family. So that's how I did it. So they didn't get anything other than what I gave them.
And during the time you were in prison, what was that like? Obviously, it sucked, but...
Yeah, well, listen, I visited my father for 25 years, so I was no stranger to prison, but I got locked up a couple of times. I had 18 arrests. But, prison is what you make of it. Mm-hmm. The worst part of prison is just being separated and losing your freedom. What they do to you in there, it all depends. I mean, I was in solitary for almost 3 years. The feds were really upset with me. They tried to get me to cooperate, and I wouldn't. And they really took vengeance on me. So they did two things, which probably the worst part of being in prison. They put me on diesel therapy. You know what that is? No. That's when the feds have prisons all over the country. So what they do is they take you out in the middle of the night, throw you on some plane that the marshals confiscated from a drug dealer, and they ship you to another prison. You don't know where you're going. You have no idea how long you're going to be there. You can't get on a phone. You can't tell your family. They don't tell your family because of security reasons. You get to the new prison. They keep you there for 3 days, pick you up, put you on a plane again. And they'll run you around. They did that for me for almost 8 months. Just ran me ragged. And it's the worst part of being in prison because you never get settled. You can't get a visit. It's hard to get on a phone. And they put you in solitary when you're there. So, I mean, they ran me there for about 8 months. And then they put me in a hole for almost 3 years.
This was because they were trying to make you crack.
Yeah. They were pretty upset with me. So that was tough, no doubt about it. Solitary is rough, especially for that length of time. But when you're in the yard, it's fine. You do your thing.
Is this when you found religion during this time?
During solitary, yeah. I mean, my wife and my mother-in-law were very strong Christians. So I obviously respected them for their beliefs, but I wasn't buying into it. But I became a person of faith in solitary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can imagine before prison, you probably weren't going to give that any attention.
No, I believed in God, and that's about it. But that was it.
Mm-hmm. So you come out, what's the first thing that you do?
Figure out what I was going to do from that point, because I still had, you don't walk away from that life and just say, hey, I'm done. My boss was very upset with me because number one, I was giving them $2 million a week, and that ended when I left.
It was really your fault.
No, but, well, it wasn't for that they were mad. They knew that was going down, but by my not coming back, yeah, that was the end of that. So my boss took it very personal. He was very upset with me, and everybody thought I was going to become this major witness against people, because when guys leave, that's what they do. They make a deal with the government. They go into the witness protection program. Next thing you know, they're testifying. And but I wasn't doing that. So they were really upset with me. So I had some things I had to navigate.
Yeah, but was he not happy that you didn't snitch?
Yeah, but initially they didn't know what was going to happen. They didn't know.
Okay.
Who walks away? I mean, that doesn't happen. He must have made a deal. And of course, I'm telling my father, I said, Dad, don't listen to that. I'm not doing it. I'm not going to hurt anybody. But, then the feds did me really dirty. They put my name on a witness list of trials that were coming up. They really pressured me. And so they're seeing my name on a witness list, but I'm saying, don't believe it. I'm not coming. And it wasn't only, this took years, because these trials come up. I don't show up. And then I did 5 years. I got out on parole, And then they violated my parole. So now I go back into prison. So now everybody's saying, wait a minute, why would they put him back in jail if he's hurting people? Something's wrong.
Yeah.
So then they finally, okay, he's not. But he's not allowed to walk away anyway, So, I had it both ways.
Everybody was just like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, what's going on? What is this guy doing, And, it was a tough time. That was more stressful than being in prison, honestly, just dealing. Then my father, he and I didn't talk for 10 years because he didn't know what was going on. The feds came into prison. They said, hey, we got word from an informant, Junior put a hit out on you. You're a dead man anyway. Come with us. We'll put you in a program. We'll protect you and your family. I said, I don't need you. I don't want the program. I'm not doing that. And so that's when they started pressuring me. You're a dead man anyway. Your father even went against you. He said, he okayed the hit. I said, let me worry about my dad. But my dad, what are you doing? I said, Dad, don't listen to these people. I'm not going to hurt anybody, But he had questions because he said something's going wrong here. And I understand, why would they, I understand what they were thinking. So it took a long time to navigate through all of this. And when I got out, when I was on parole, I had to move 2 or 3 times. The feds they're obligated to tell you if they believe your life is in danger. So, I was on parole. I come home one day and there's unmarked cars in front of my house. I said, oh, they're going to lock me up. I go in the house and my wife is crying, but they told her, if your husband doesn't leave this weekend, he's going to be a dead man. There's people out here to kill him. So I told her, don't worry about that. She's crying. I said, all right, pack up, let's go. So we left for a couple of days, And
how did the police find out about that?
They got informants.
Okay.
Yeah, the informants tell them everything. Believe me, they know more than you think they know. Yeah, there's so many people are talking to them. It's terrible. It really is. I found out things afterwards that I was stunned that they knew. Mm-hmm. And, even guys around me that I thought, and I can't pinpoint any one of them, but people were talking. There's no question about it because they knew things that I was shocked.
Every state has a different type of police. Because I don't know much about the American police system.
The feds have the FBI,
yeah,
and they're the federal police. They go anywhere and everywhere, and they're the ones that normally investigate you. So, I always had the FBI on me. It was always federal.
So, how do most people not get the ability to leave that life? Because I imagine a lot of people want to. At some point, they're like, nah, I'm done. I'm out. I want to leave it behind. Has anybody that you know of, obviously apart from yourself, being able to successfully do it?
Well, Frank Costello, I don't know if you know his story, but they tried to kill him. Genovese tried to kill him. And at that point in time, he said, look, I'm done. Because he was the boss. Genovese wanted to take over. He was acting boss, Costello was, for Luciano. And Genovese wanted to take him out because he wanted to be the boss. So he tried to kill him. Unbelievable. Guys walking out of an elevator. Shoot at him point blank, but somehow just grazed the side of his head. He goes down. They thought he was dead, and they left. They only grazed him. So after that, he went and he said, look, I'm done. But he was in his late 50s, 60s. I'm done. Well, they let him go because they didn't want him around anyway. They said, just don't say, I'm done. I'm not talking, I'm not doing anything. So they let him go. But other than that, the only guy that I know that left because he had to leave was Joe Bonanno, because he betrayed and they were going to kill him too. And they said, because you're a boss, we'll give you the courtesy of leaving New York. You're not part of us anymore, but if you ever come back here, you're a dead man. So he went out to Arizona. Other than that, I don't know anybody that just walked away.
It must be harder the more successful and talented of a businessman you are. If you're making the family more money and you're even making yourself more money, it must be difficult.
Well,
because everybody wants you to stay in the game because everybody wins.
Listen, I'll be honest with you. Up until a few years ago, I had guys say, hey, come on back. It's okay. You didn't hurt anybody. I'm done. Yeah. And I don't know these new guys that are there now. I wouldn't even think of it. Don't get me wrong. But I'm just saying, look, it's like any other organization. If you don't have money, you don't survive. And, people think you come into that life right away, you're making big money. It's just the opposite. You got to pay up. And we had 115 guys in a Colombo family during my time, about 115. Out of the 115, 20 of us were earners. The other guys were just, who had a no-show job, who had a little gambling operation, whatever. But they didn't know how to use the life to benefit them in business. So the guys that are making money, you got to try to protect them because that's how the family survives. Without money, I don't care who you are, you don't survive.
Well, did those guys end up being like the muscle? Like, do they realize, I'm probably like not that good at earning money. Maybe I could be of some use.
They were the guys that had to do most of the work. Let's put it that way. I mean, you're a captain. I was a captain. You got to get your hands dirty too. But the guys that are benefiting from the life without them paying back, they had to do a lot of the work, and rightfully so.
So how did you stumble upon going from that to doing what you're doing now? Was the first thing you started doing social media?
No, I did not want to do social media at all. I mean, I became a speaker. Don't ask me how that happened, but I became a speaker. And so I've been speaking for the last 30 years around the world. And I wrote a couple of books. And
what was the first talk?
My first talk.
Like, how did that come about?
Well, I mean, my first ever talk was because the pastor of my church asked me to come and speak to his congregation. And I couldn't refuse him because when I was in a hole, he used to send me commissary money. He would send me books. He was really nice. I hardly knew the guy, but he was really nice to me. The church was great to my family. So he said, you got a great testimony. Will you come and give it to the church? I didn't even know what he was talking about. I thought testimony he gave it from a witness stand, right, in trial. So, I mean, I just told people about my life and it caught on. And then all the pro leagues, Major League Baseball, the NBA, they approached me because they knew I had a big gambling operation. And they said, the problem we have in pro sports, because a lot of athletes were gambling with us. I said, yeah, I know the problem. Will you come and talk to our athletes about it and teach them how to stay away from it, not to get in trouble? Well, I said, okay, I'll do that. And turn my life around. I'll do some good. And so that was in 1996 when I got out of prison. I've been doing it ever since. I just left the University of Georgia and spoke to their whole football team and told them how guys like me will put you in trouble. And I've spoken at over 300 universities, at this point. So, I mean, it just caught on. Honestly, I never promoted it. Just it was word of mouth. And it caught on because, look, I'm different. When you're different, you have a story and you can relay it. People will want you to come in. So
you can communicate.
Yeah, if you can communicate properly, I mean, it works. And I just got very fortunate that way. And then I started to get involved in business again. Here we are.
Mm-hmm. Was the first one or the first major one, the pizza business?
Yes and no. I mean, I had some things going on, but I really felt a moral and spiritual obligation to continue speaking in the way I was because, to be quite honest, I've had an impact on people. I really have. When they hear my story and they hear that I've been able to transform my life and that I survived that life, people are encouraged by it. Mm-hmm. So I felt an obligation, and I still feel it. I'll never give that up, to go out and be an encouragement to people, especially men. And so I do a lot of that. I've been doing that for 30 years. I've spoken at over 2,000 events to this point. And then obviously write a couple of books. That always happens. Right now they're doing a movie on my life. After 20 some odd years, I finally gave a green light to that. And I think it's going to be a good film. I'm encouraged by what I've seen because in this business, you never know. But I'm encouraged by what I've seen in the team that's working it. And it was only recently, it was in the last, I started getting involved in the pizza business. Maybe it's been about 5 years. Because the guy that I'm partners with, I know him for 40 years. He's one of the guys from my former life. But he was pretty much legit. Mm-hmm. And tremendous chef. And we had a couple of restaurants together. He operated them. I just got involved. And we sold our restaurants. And I said, what do you want to do now? He said, I want to be in the pizza business. And I said, Tony, come on. Everybody and their brother's into pizza. What are we going to do differently? And he said, watch, I'll show you. So we went to Italy for 6 months. And he came back with a tremendous formula for pizza. So, and
did you both go?
No, he went. Yeah, I mean, I visited him, but he went.
It's just pizza every day.
Yeah. And to make a very long story short, we have, without a doubt, the best frozen pizza that you're ever going to taste. And now we have these vending machines. Our pizza comes out of a vending machine the way it comes out of an oven. It's that good. And now we're putting them in markets, frozen food markets. And then we have, I don't want to mention it here yet because it's premature, but I'll be making a big announcement, I believe, about where our pizza is going to be offered. Something that people are going to be very familiar with. And that should happen, I believe, in the next week or two.
It's amazing. Quick interruption, guys. Have you noticed how a lot of the guests that I've been speaking to on this podcast have taken the leap and built something meaningful for themselves? They didn't just think about it or make excuses. They took a risk and they made it happen. I don't want to hear about why you can't do it and why your situation is different. It's exactly why I have created the digital playbook for you. This is a step-by-step guide to you building your online presence, your social media following, and ultimately monetizing that following so you can live a life of freedom, both financially and geographically. I guess what's really powerful about the speaking, going back to that, is not only can you try and inspire people to maybe step away from a bad path that they've chosen, but also the young people who are kind of undecided on which route to go down. And there's the temptation to go down the evil route, sell drugs, or get into shady business. You can be the one that inspires them to not do that.
Yeah, and you know how that impacted me when I was in prison. A lot of young kids came into the system, mostly black kids, to say it the way, out of the neighborhoods. Black kids, Mexican kids. Because, back in New York, we didn't have a lot of Mexicans. I only met Mexicans when I came out here to California. My wife is Mexican. First Mexican I met, I married, right? But in prison out here, there was a lot of them. And these young kids getting in trouble because they were gang-related. They come in with the feds, mostly drugs. They get 20 years, mandatory minimum sentence. These kids are in their 20s, 20 years, no parole. You got to do 85% of your time. So they come in, they were attracted to me because, the mob thing is big in there. And I started talking to them, and you could write the same script for every one of them. Broken home, no father figure in the house. Mom is normally young, 2 or 3 kids trying to do her best. They gravitate to the local gangbanger, local drug dealer. Before you know it, they're in prison. Something worse. And I used to talk to them, and really, I see how they were inspired by me. And I got a heart for kids. I have 7 kids. I have 7 grandkids. I got a heart for kids. So when I really felt for these kids, I said, man, what chance do they have? They come in a tough neighborhood. They don't have a dad in the house. They got to make some money to help their mother out. So they get to the street. I get it. And then they see a movie like Goodfellas. Oh, you guys had it all, man. Come on. You had the cars. You had the women. You had the power. You dressed so good. I said, where'd you see that? Well, Goodfellas. I said, did you leave halfway through the movie? You didn't see the end of the movie. Well, what do you mean? Well, who went to jail? Who became an informant? Who got killed? How come you didn't see that part? They don't even see that part. They only see all the glamour. So I used to try to tell them, you're going to get used to this because this is where you're going to die, right here. If it's not on the street, you're going to die right here. And I tried to encourage them. So when I got out, I started doing a lot of that. I went to a lot of juvenile halls. I do a lot of men's group. I speak to a lot of young kids. And it's inspirational because, look, you got to have credibility with these kids. You can't be a cop and come in and talk to them. They turn you right off in most cases. But somebody who's been there and done that. And look, everybody looks at the Mafia as the biggest gang in the world, and I use that. I said, don't tell me you can't leave the street. I left the biggest gang in the world. Don't tell me you can't do it. We'll tell you how. And so I've been involved in that for 20 some odd years now, and we helped a lot of kids, no doubt. But it's the way things evolve in your life. You don't plan on these things and they just happen. And then you see something is working, you stay with it.
So what would you say to somebody who's in that situation, who was a teenager, broken family, no real seemingly obvious opportunity? What would you tell them to do?
I tell these kids 2 things, and I believe this, and I think this applies to everybody, but especially to our young people. If you want a good shot in life of getting somewhere, 2 things very important. Number 1, we are who we hang out with. You hang with the wrong crowd, You're not going to fix them. You're going to be influenced by them. You're going to go in the wrong direction. You must surround yourself with the right people. Number two, who you are accountable to in life is going to direct the path that your life goes down. When I was on the street, I was accountable to my oath, to my boss. I was a criminal. Ended up in jail. Could have gotten killed. Who knows? Now I'm accountable to my God first, my family, people that rely on me, to make sure I stay on the right path. And my life is a lot better, straightened out. So I told him, you got to get these two things right. And if you don't know how to get them right, we'll help you. And anytime I go speak to these kids, the only time I'll talk is if there's a program I can send them to, because I personally don't have that program. But I said, look, when I leave these kids, I am going to encourage them. It's what I do. But I can't just leave and give them no place to go. We have to have a program that I can get them involved with, that I believe is credible, and that'll do something for them. You can't tell one of these kids, come out of their life and go back to your neighborhood. The kid's not going to survive. No. You got to give them a plan of action. And that's what we do. And it's been successful. We've helped a lot of kids and continue to do that. So, but that's what they have to understand. Who you're accountable to, who you hang out with. Get that right, you got a good shot.
And you spoke about the movies, the ones that they watch, and they seemingly see all the glorious stuff. They're like, oh, I want that.
Yeah.
How good are the movies at representing the mob life? Well,
listen, the greatest two movies ever made in that life were Godfather 1 and 2. No doubt. They were brilliant. They were fictional, but they were brilliantly done. No question about it. But if you want to get authentic movies of that life, you have to go to Goodfellas. Very authentic, well acted, very authentic. I mean, there's some things weren't exactly accurate, but it's the movies. But the way the life was portrayed was accurate. Donnie Brasco, very accurate. I knew all those guys. The Bronx Tale, even though it wasn't so much of a mob movie, the way it was depicted, very, very accurate. Casino, accurate. The best mob movie, the most realistic and the most true to what really happened on the street was the 1996 HBO Gotti movie with Armand Asante and Anthony Quinn. Have you seen it? No. Go on YouTube.
I'm making a list of all these.
No. Go on YouTube and watch it. Watch it for free. It's on there. Not the recent Gotti with John Travolta. Don't watch that. It was terrible. But the 1996 Gotti with Armand Asante. They wrote that script directly from the surveillance recordings. And Armand was terrific. And there was a scene in there that Anthony Quinn, I got the chills. It was so accurate. It was so realistic. Watch that movie. It was brilliant. So those are good depictions of the life. And, people, these kids look at that and they go, wow, I want to be that. I want to be involved. You don't blame them, especially if you grew up in the neighborhoods. You saw these guys, they had it going on. You said, I want to be that.
So I guess with this film that's going to be made about you have to be taking a look and making sure that it's actually accurate. So I'm sure if you're not happy with it, they can't just put it out there.
Well, first of all, you have to be happy with the team that's doing the film. You have to trust. I don't have total control, but obviously what I say means a lot because they want to be as authentic as possible. I've had so many people approach me for a film and that I just dismissed over the years. Just didn't like the vibe. But this is a good team, and the writer is got a good feel for the street. Because I said, look, if I can't write it, if I can't have an authentic movie about my life, why would I do it? Yeah. It'd be foolish to me. I'd be embarrassed practically. So I think they're capturing it right. They've been writing the script for about 13 months. And I've been contributing to that as far as sitting down and talking and, going through my life. They've read my books. And for the first time, I read the script about a month ago. And when I read it, I said, okay, let me put it down and let me read it a second time like it's not me. But you can't do that. It can't. I tried to detach myself, but I couldn't. Because I just wanted to say, is this a good movie? Is this something I'd want to see? I couldn't do that. But I made my notes, and about 3 weeks ago, we had a sit down here with the production team, and we went through page for page. And now they're doing a final polish on it. I was very happy with the script. But there were some things that I thought were a little cheesy. I said, we wouldn't talk like that, No. And, this may sound crazy, but I asked them, I said, listen, what was the greatest mob movie ever made? They said, The Godfather. I said, how many curse words were in The Godfather? They said, you can't think of one. They said, no. I said, because there weren't any. I says, every other word here, you're cursing. Why? I said, you're demeaning the characters. If you want the characters to have integrity and stature, why you demean them with every other word out of their mouth is a curse? Well, didn't you guys talk like that? I said, some of us did, but not all of us. I said, I'm not saying I never cursed. Don't get me wrong, but you don't need to put in somebody's face every other word.
Yeah.
Took it all out.
Wow.
And it's a better script. It's a better script because if I want you to fear me, I don't have to curse you out. I don't have to say too much.
Yeah.
You know, I should get that mentality because that's how my father was. My father said one or two words. Hey, this guy means it. You have to say too much, you know?
Because I never heard my dad swear, but when he did, I was like, whoa.
Exactly.
He's pissed.
Exactly. So they cleaned that up. I have a very good feeling about it. But I never get ahead of myself with these things because you never know in this business. But so far I'm feeling good. They want to meet with me again in 2 weeks. And if I say, this is it, and script always changes. Actor comes in, well, I want to do this, but I think it's at the point where they can start presenting it to cast.
Mm. Yeah, because that'll be a big thing. Who's going to be playing you?
Yeah. I don't know.
Like, do you get to have some say in that?
I think they would.
This guy ticks all the boxes, but there's something about him you don't like.
Because the business part of me, I detach myself and I want somebody that can carry a film. I understand the business, the industry. Like somebody said to me, who do you want to play you? I said, Denzel Washington. What? Yeah. Why? Because I know the film will be made with Denzel. Because you don't know, So, yeah, I mean, Leonardo DiCaprio, of course, somebody of that stature, of course, because now you have a movie, no question. These guys make movies. So my first answer to them, they said, who would you want to play you? I said, whoever can get the film made. That's it. Let's not make this an exercise. Let's make it happen. So I'm not really particular with that, honestly. I know who they want to play. I always forget his name. I know who they want to play, and he wants the role terribly. The heck's his name? I always forget his name. He's a great actor, and he looks so much like my father. I'll think of it.
Yeah.
And he wants the role. They already spoke to him. He wants it badly. So, and he'd be great. He'd be terrific. So we'll see.
That's exciting, that.
Yeah. We'll see.
And what about the wine business?
Wine business.
How did that happen?
I am really excited about the business. I got to tell you, I knew nothing about. I love wine. Don't get me wrong. I go to Napa, go to Italy, France. We love the wine, but I knew nothing about the business. So this young guy approaches me. He's Armenian, and I met him about 6 years ago. He was 19. And we sat down, we had lunch. He emailed me, he wanted to come and meet me. He said, Michael, I've been, watching you on your podcast. I said, okay. Well, no, actually, I didn't have a podcast. He was just watching me, whatever I was doing. So we sat down for a couple hours, and I really took to this kid. And then 2 years later, he comes to me and he said, my family has a winery in Armenia for 25 years. We want to introduce the wine to the United States, and we want you to be the brand. I said, why? Well, the story of wine is a transforming story, how wine goes from a grape to the process becomes wine. It's transformation. And the story behind the Armenian wine is that when Noah's Ark landed, it landed at the foot of Mount Ararat. When the flood subsided, the first vineyards in the new civilization were planted in Armenia.
Mm.
Transformation. Your story is transformation, and I really like you, I said, well, let me look into it. So I looked into the wine. I looked into the pricing, obviously tasted the wine. I did a little of my homework on the vineyard, and I wanted to meet this kid's family because I had found out he had a pizza franchise that was going bankrupt, and they bought it out and turned it into one of the best in all of California. I said, there's a hardworking family. So I said, let's do it. And that was 3 years ago. And we had to be very innovative because the wine business is down right now. It's down. It just is.
Because people are drinking less wine, or
I think it's a combination of things. I think people are wanting something new in the industry. The business is down, and we're on a skyrocket. Last year at this time, we had 400 locations. Today, we have 3,500. Put on 3,100 locations in 12 months. By the end of the year, we'll have 5,000. And we've been very innovative in our approach on how we're selling the wine. We're selling the story. When I first said to them, I said, listen, everything I do, I make sure people understand I'm approachable. I'm approachable on my YouTube. I'm approachable when I speak. I'm approachable. I don't want to sell a $300 bottle of wine. Our wine is priced great, and for the price, it's a great wine. So anybody can drink it. Anybody can afford it. And so we've really done some innovative things for people to want to try our wine. And once they try it, they like it. And obviously, I've used my social media platforms pretty well, but we've gone above and beyond. And we're in all the major chains. We're in Walmart. I don't know if you're familiar with all of them here in the United States.
Those are the big ones, yeah.
Costco, Walmart, Albertsons, Kroger, Total Wines, Bevmo. We're in all of them. And the funny thing is you can't get into any of these without a national distributor, right? So we had a national distributor that we went and talked to 2 years ago, and they wanted to sign us. But I said, Sam, I got a bad feeling about these. I think they're going to sign us and put us on the back shelf. What do they need us for? They're just taking us out of the way. I said, I don't want to sign with them. Well, he calls me Mr. Michael. Mr. Michael, we can't get any of these retail outlets unless we have it. So we tried something different. And I'm not going to say how we did it, but we got in to meet with every single wine buyer on every major retail chain. And when they said to us, who's your national distributor? I said, we don't have one. I said, but if you take our wine, we'll have a distributor. And we did that one by one. Everybody took us. And then we got the distributors. We did it. We went in the back way. And now we're expanding in all of the, because, they always test you out. They'll put you in 3 stores. If they have 3,500 stores, they'll put you in 3 or 4 or 5, see how it goes. And then you start to expand within the chain. And that's what's happening now.
That's so interesting. Because I always wondered how does somebody get into the retailers? Because that must be the hardest part.
It's hard. It's very hard.
With the amount of beverages, that industry is competitive enough as it is.
It's very
hard.
hard.
Trying to get into all the retailers, and then a lot of the time, there's no guarantee that, as you said, they're going to put you at the front of the shelf. Maybe they just put you at the back.
Yeah, and if you sign
terrible deal,
and if you sign a contract with them, you're stuck.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't do it. So, but we figured it out. And the great thing about it now is I'm piggybacking the pizza, because now we're in all the major chains for wine. They have a relationship with us. Now we introduce the pizza, and the pizza's an easy sell. If I don't have any here, but if you tasted it, you'll say, where can I get more?
Yeah.
It sells itself. And the formula that we use, it's a given. So now that we're in all the major wine chains, now I'm just introducing the pizza, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So why did I get into the industry? Number one, because I like the challenge. And number two, I get into it to get out of it.
Yeah.
They're 2 industries with big exits. Big exits.
Mm-hmm.
And that was very attractive to me. Because look, I'm 74 years old. How much more am I going to work? And I look at it this way. I made a lot of money in the gas business. More money than would have ever needed in my life. But I did it the wrong way. Depends on how you look at it. I don't mind stealing from the government, I'll be honest with you, because they steal our money all day long. But let's put it, I did it the wrong way. And now I want to do it the right way.
Do you think that when you were having a lot of these meetings with these distributors, retailers, a lot of what you would learn from that previous life came into play a little bit? The negotiation,
no doubt.
Presence.
No doubt. Let me tell you something. In that life, when you're one of the younger guys especially, you have a lot of jealousy and envy. You have guys that have been in that life 20, 25 years. I'm 27 years old. I got a jet plane, a helicopter, an automobile dealership, and these guys are 20 years, 25 years on the street, and they don't have anywhere near that. I'm not demeaning them, but they're looking at you. Why is that not me? you don't only have that on the street, you have it in the real world too. There's resentment when you're younger and you're doing well. It's normal, it's natural. The problem on the street is it's different. The stakes are higher because it becomes envious, and people are saying, I want what he has and I don't want him to have it. So what do you have to do? You have to learn how to pacify those people respectfully. Like, even though I was a captain in that life, there were soldiers that were there for 20 years. I would make them feel good. Hey, I have respect for you. You've been around longer than I know I have the position, but you've been around. I can probably learn from you. I always made them feel good. You have to treat people good in life. My father taught me something once, and I'll never forget it. It just resonated with me. He says, son, always treat the little people well. Now, when he said little people, he didn't mean it to demean them. It's just the way he talked. He said, the valet parker, treat him well, smile at him. Don't let him think he's your servant. The waitress, always have a kind word for her. And I watched my dad. He was that way. He said, these are the people that make you strong, not the people on top. They're looking to cut your legs off in this life. He said, treat the little people well. Watch. I used to go to the Copa with my father, Copacabana. You heard of that club, right? Best club ever, right? Loved it. I met everybody there from Sinatra on down. But I watched how my father treated people and how they treated him. He was a king when he walked in there. King. I mean, Julie Bedell was the owner. Loved my dad because he was courteous. He was nice. He knew how to treat people. So it stuck with me. Always try to treat people respectfully, rightfully, give them a lot of courtesy, make them feel good. And it comes back in big ways. It really has. People have said to me, Michael, you're a brilliant businessman. You've created all this. And I said, no, I'm not. What do you mean? I'm not. I said, there's things in business. I don't know how to work anything here. You ask me, I'm done. I'm finished. I'll go broke. I don't know what to do, right? And I'm not going to learn because I have no interest in it. I'm not a good businessman in that sense. But I had two talents. Number one, I recognized a good opportunity. I was able to read things, okay, this could work, that I don't like. Number two, I knew how to hire the right people to do the job and motivate the hell out of them. So they really worked for me. So I always had this motto, do what you do best, delegate the rest. That's what's worked for me my whole life. Yeah. And so even now, these people that we get in the room with them, you got a half an hour. Well, 2 hours later, we're still in the room talking to them, and then we have the deal, And, look, part of it is because they're intrigued by the story. I get it. I understand.
Probably don't want to upset you too much.
Well, it's part of the package that I've been fortunate to have. Let's put it that. Look, who would listen to me if I didn't have the mob background package? That's how I got started. I understand. It turned into something good for me in that regard. So you use what is given to you and try to use it as best you can. And that's what's worked for me. Yeah. And you got to be innovative in your approach in different things. And networking, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. I always try to, networking has been very good for me. I know guys, this guy, I can't do anything with him now, but who knows, maybe in the future. And then all of a sudden something pops up. Hey, I remember I met a guy, and you can call him up because you left off on good terms. And before you know it, you're doing business together, So it's those things that have worked for me in my life. And yeah, I learned them on the street, no question, because that was my upbringing. I learned it on the street, and you carry it into this world.
If you had to say no, or have you missed out on any potential business deals since coming out that you felt like you kind of wanted to get involved in? But you're like, oh, maybe this is not right.
Yeah, I'd made some stupid moves, honestly. When I came out, I mean, this may sound really stupid, but when I went into prison, my wife, she never drank coffee. Never. She didn't like coffee, right? During my prison term, she started talking to me about Starbucks. Yeah, Starbucks. What the heck is that, right? So when I came out, I said, man, she likes this thing. I got a couple of places. I'm going to buy some stock, right? I'm leery of the stock market because we used to do pump and dump things there. And so I said, I'm not going to do it. Stupid. I was going to put some pretty money in there. I didn't do it. I'd probably be worth $20 million, maybe more right now. Who knows? Just from Starbucks alone. But, some things that I should have done that I didn't do. So how do you count that? Now, I kick myself a little bit. Yeah, I should have did that. But, another thing, I created this great musical that we did called A Mob Story in Vegas.
You created a musical?
Yeah, it's called A Mob Story. rave reviews. We put it in a hotel downtown in the Plaza Hotel back in 2019, right? We had a 6-month run there, did great. And then we're going up to the Strip in 2020. So you know what happens? I make a deal with a big club there to go up on the Strip. I make it in February. In March, the whole town closed it down. Yeah, and it was closed down for a year and a half, and I lost money because it was an expensive production. And then when it came time to start again, when they opened up Vegas, they said, "Do you want to do this again?" I said, "No." I said, "I lost enough money. I got to spend another $3-4 million to put the show back together, go through the whole thing, because people move on at that point, you know, dancers and everything." So I mean, you couldn't help it. It was a pandemic. I mean, who could have figured something like that out? You know,
It's probably a good thing. I've heard less people go to Vegas, right?
absolutely. Yeah, town is down right now. It's changed. Town was much better when we ran it. No doubt. I'm telling you, you get anybody during that era that knew, and they'll tell you the same thing. It's too corporate now. Everything is by the book. It's just no
They're
fun.
just trying to suck as much money as possible.
Everything is money. It's so expensive nowadays. It's ridiculous. I don't even like to go there anymore, honestly. I just enjoy it.
Did you ever own a casino?
No, I never. I was buying a casino, and we were going to turn it into a timeshare deal. And then the guy that I that I bought the Chevrolet dealership from, I had him being the guy that was getting the license. And the dumb guy lies on the application. They didn't give us a license. And then I got in trouble right after that, so I pulled the deal. But I would have owned something right next to the Tropicana. It's called the 20th Century, yeah. I didn't lose money on it because I was able to figure it out, but I really wanted that deal.
Yeah.
My mistake, put the wrong guy there.
Yeah. So let's say you get 2 very good exits with these businesses. What are you going to do after that?
I keep saying this, and I think I mean it. I don't want to say I become lazy, but I really like just vacationing and not.
I can relate to that.
Yeah, I really like not having to do anything. You know, like right now I have commitments and things that I have to do. I would like not having to do anything. Do something if I want to do it. Look, I'm not looking to buy another building. I don't want to start another business. I mean, I'll help my kids out if they have something that they want to do. You know, I'll be charitable with my money. I really mean that. I think that's in me right now. And I do that now anyway, but I don't think I'll do anything. I really don't. So I'm not continuing.
One of the happiest days are when I wake up and I have a clear schedule.
I love it too. Do you know what? You talk about stress. Stress, I don't know. Anxiety I start to have because when I think I have to leave, I say, oh my God, I got to get on another plane. I think that's a form of anxiety. Like because I'm thinking about it in advance and not liking it. To me, that's what I consider anxiety. I just
spending time not looking forward to something.
Yes. So I want to eliminate that in my life. But I mean, I think I'm entitled to it. I'm 74 years old. I mean, I've been working hard. Other than the jail time, I mean, I've worked my entire life, you know, so, and I enjoy it. I enjoy the action. But I think I'm ready to say, okay, enough.
Well, even doing all this social media, like it's
work.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, people think it's not work. It's, you know, it's work.
Yeah. And I imagine every time you open your mouth, you have to decide, can I share this story or can I not share this story?
Yeah.
It must be so interesting because you'll have no doubt stories you have in your head that you can't share. So you have to decide like, okay, we can share this, but we can't share this part.
Well, yeah, you know, and unlike some other guys that are on social media that have cooperated with the government and have immunity for crimes that they've committed in the past, I don't have that. You know, they can talk about, some guys talk about murders and stuff like that. I mean, I don't have immunity from anything. So, I mean, you know, I say what I can say and I don't say what I don't think I should say about the life. But, you know, fortunately on my platform now, I've been able to do some other things. I have a lot of interviews now that we do. Because after a while, you run out of stories.
Yeah.
You know how it is. I mean, I've been telling stories for years. I tell people I'm not going to make things up, So you find different areas and it works.
I think interviewing other people, that's a good
That's
way
the easy part, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because then you can use their stories.
That's easy.
Tune in.
Yeah. One other thing I want to mention, another thing that I have this platform. I think that, one thing that I have found, how old are you?
I'm 35.
35. You're young. You're half my age. One thing I found growing up, I loved the sense of community and family that we had in Brooklyn, where I grew up, later on Long Island. But everybody knew everyone. Never locked your windows, locked your doors. I remember my sisters, if they were walking home at midnight, 3 or 4 guys walk around and make sure they get them right to the door. That sense of family and community is something that is so lacking in this country. And so I created a platform, and it's the Michael Franzese family, where we're trying to create that sense of community. We have about 1,000 members right now. And we're giving them that sense of community. I created courses on business and negotiation and different strategies that I might use to help people in different ways in their life, both personally and in business. And it's really growing. And what I'm finding, what I'm really thrilled with, is they're starting to help each other. They're starting to get involved with one another, and it's becoming a real good place. So the only reason I mention it, it's if you can post it, we're trying to grow this. I think it should be a worldwide community.
Yeah.
I look at it as part of a legacy, hopefully, that I can leave behind if this thing works and grows the way I see it. And I'm very active in it. I jump in, we do Q&As, we do Zoom calls, we're having live events, and I'm really happy. I mean, we haven't really pushed it all over the place, but I'm going to start to give it more attention, try to really build this into something I think could be beneficial to people.
Yeah, we'll put the link to that in this episode. What type of people do you find are joining?
All kinds. Yeah. I mean, we have people from corporate America. We have people, blue collar workers. I had one 14-year-old kid that came on it. I was amazed at how smart this young kid was. We did a Q&A, and he got very involved in it. And I said, you got to get some of your friends, if they're as smart as you or not smart as you, bring them to this platform because they're going to learn from you and all of us. And he said, I will, So we're attracting a lot of different people.
Yeah, I think that's definitely in today's world. There's a lot of guys in particular, whether they be in their late teens or early 20s, that can be a very lonely chapter of your life.
Absolutely.
Where especially if you're trying to, you realize, okay, this group of people who I am hanging out with, they're not going anywhere. They're not doing anything. Like, this is where I want to be.
Yes.
I can't hang out with these people anymore. But then you're in this transition period where you can't, those people who you do want to hang out with, you haven't, reached the criteria where you can actually hang out with them because you have to kind of build yourself up a little bit. So that transitional phase can be pretty difficult and pretty lonely.
No doubt.
So the community can be a good thing.
People don't, I think they don't get it. Life is tough enough when everything is good. Things come out of nowhere. You don't know what's going to happen. When everything is good, when you start to put more baggage on your shoulders to carry around by doing the wrong thing, getting involved with the wrong people, making mistakes, life becomes very difficult. And I can't tell you how many times I went into a prison and visited with guys that were in their 50s, 60s. And they'll turn around and say, Michael, I don't know, my life is over. I don't even know what I did, and it's gone. And it's very, very sad because they say they don't even realize what they're doing to themselves until they reach a point where they finally do, and then they're old. And that's what I tell these young people. I said, you cannot see it right now, but time does go by. And if you keep wasting year after year after year, putting more baggage on your shoulders to carry around, life becomes very difficult. Because like I said, even when everything is good, God forbid you get sick or you're in an accident or your business fails or somebody close to you is gone, you got to navigate that no matter what. But if you make it harder for yourself, this becomes a very tough life.
Mm-hmm. I had a question about this quote, which is on the wall. Who's that by? Billy Graham?
Billy Graham, yeah.
Becoming a Christian is the work of a moment. Being a Christian is the work of a lifetime.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Well, you become a Christian by confessing your sins, sincerely confessing your sins to the Lord, and accepting Jesus as your Savior. So it takes a moment to do that. It may take a long time to get to that point to do it, but it only takes a moment to do it. But once you are a Christian, you have an obligation for a lifetime. What is your obligation? Well, you don't have to become a preacher, you don't have to sing in the choir, and you don't have to be preaching every day on the street. But Jesus' last command to all of us was to go out and share the good word with all of creation. So you have to live as a Christian so that people see by example who you are. And when you can speak about it, you speak about it. And that's what it means. You have a lifelong responsibility to live your faith. And Billy Graham was the greatest guy that I ever witnessed preach. I mean, one day I was in a small town hotel and I turned on the TV. It was black and white, and he was preaching in a stadium in England. I forget what stadium it was. And when he made a call for Christ, for people to come down and confess and accept, the whole stadium came down. I couldn't believe it. Everybody in the stadium. And he didn't have a mob story. He was just preaching straight Jesus, but he was so dynamic and I was like, wow, this guy's amazing. That's the first time I really watched him preach. And this was on television. So, and he died in his 90s, but he was probably just the greatest ever.
Was that moment for you, I imagine, was in jail?
No, I was home.
You were home when you?
Yeah, I was home. I was actually in some town. I was speaking to some place. It was a small town. This is about 20 years ago. It was a small town, and I just happened to turn the television on. I was in black and white with him there, so it caught my attention right away, and I listened to him. It was amazing. Yeah, if he was alive today with social media, he would have converted the whole world. That's how effective he was. I'm telling you, it's amazing.
I really do wonder if that will happen to me at some point. Because at the moment, it's not that I don't believe. It's just I'm kind of like, I just believe in being a good person. Mm-hmm. And obviously, when you get in a position of having a bit of a following, you have a responsibility to, at least share some value and make the world a better place.
Well, that's good. But let me, and I had this conversation with Andrew. Well, I can't convert you. That's God's deal, but I can talk to you. Andrew was a Christian that converted to Islam. He's now Islam.
Andrew Tate.
Muslim. Andrew Tate, yeah. And so I said to him, why, Andrew? I said, I just asking why. I never knock anybody for their faith, unless they're a Satanist. Then I'll knock them. But other than that, no. You choose what you choose. But he said, in the Western world, I watch people, and they claim to be Christians, but they're not really Christians. They don't act their faith. And he said, yet, as Muslims in Islam, people are very disciplined, and they do. And I said, you're right. I noticed that even in prison. Absolutely. I said, but let me ask you a question. Why would you judge a perfect God by his imperfect people? I said, people are not going to get you to heaven. And he's okay. He thought about it for a minute. I said, Andrew, let me tell you something. This life is very significant, but we're all going to die. We're all going to die. If you believe that there's a heaven and a hell, then you got to get right to get to the right place. I said, now here's how I look at it. It's very good to have a healthy fear of things that are no good for you. I got a very healthy fear of drugs. My sister died of an overdose. My brother was a junkie. I hate anything to do. I've never taken a drug in my life other than prescription antibiotic, aspirin. That's it. I hate drugs. It's good to have a healthy fear of gambling. I saw more guys destroy their lives for gambling. I participated in that by having gambling operations. Alcohol. Guys on the street, you did something wrong because you were drunk, no excuse. You're in more trouble. Why'd you get drunk? I have a healthy fear of going down those paths. I'm in solitary. I got a healthy fear of hell. I said, man, if this is what it's like, 24/7, sitting in a room like this, separated from the people I love, living in somebody else's underwear with some 23-year-old guard telling me what to do, eating garbage food that they send in here, and nothing else, but a million times worse, if what I read in Scripture is true, I don't want any part of that. So yes, it motivated me because I believe there is an eternity. So not only do we got to worry about this life, but eternity is forever. Forever. So you got to get yourself right. It's not only being a good person here, because, Christians say good people don't get to heaven. Saved people get to heaven. You got to start thinking about that. I'm not trying to convince you which way to go, because if I spend time with you, I may, because it's a responsibility that I have, not to impose my faith on you and not to turn you into a Christian, but to share. And then you make your own mind up. But you got to start thinking about where you're going after you get here. I'm 74. I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, well, I've spoken to some very smart older people on the podcast, and they say it's the best thing you'll ever do.
Is what?
Finding religion.
No question. Look, that more people are more young people now are turning to Christ than ever before. Bible sales are at an all-time high. More men are coming to the Lord than ever before. And the reason? They're trying to find their purpose in life. That's what we're hearing. And I'm very into this, trying to find their purpose. And I tell them, I said, listen, I'm not here to scare you or anything else, but you're going to die. That's a fact. And you're going to go somewhere when you're dead. Unless you believe that you just turn into dust and it's all over. Then you'll find out later on. But what if you're wrong? What if you're wrong? Doesn't that scare you?
Yes.
It scares the hell out of me.
Yeah.
And I don't scare easy, but that scares the hell out of me. So, and what it motivates you to search for the truth. Because what that did to me, it didn't say, I better become a Christian. I said, no, I got to make sure that's correct also. Because you can't just tell me that. I have to know that it's real. And that's what motivated me to really research. I read, I probably read 35 to 40 books on different faiths when I was in solitary. Because I had my wife send me in. I said, I want to read about Islam. I want to read about Mormonism. I want to read about Hinduism. I want to read about it all. I got nothing but time. And I'll make my own decision from that point. And then I was reading the scripture, and I had her send me in some Christian books too. Just made the most sense to me. I said, this is real. These others, I don't feel it. Because believe me, if I would have thought, Mormonism was right, I would have come out of there a Mormon.
Yeah.
Nobody made me become a Christian. This was my own research.
So where should somebody start, like me, if he's thinking about it? To pick up a Bible?
The Bible, yes, absolutely. But you also need to be able to interpret scripture. Sometimes they have new translations that are very good. The New International Version is very good. But I had it to go deeper. How do I know that the Bible is reliable? I'm very into apologetics, defending my faith. Because first you have to believe it, and then you got to be able to defend it. Because it's hard to defend something you don't really believe. So I had to really search and believe. So I had them send me books in on apologetics, defending your faith, finding evidence to prove that it was real. And so I absorbed all of that. One of the books one of the authors that I love, you got to forgive me. My old age shows up when I can't remember a name. And this is so bad because he's a friend of mine. But
someone I want to speak to, Wesley Huff. Apparently he's quite big.
No, what's his name? Anyway, I'll think of it. But he wrote a series of books. He was he was an organized crime journalist out of Chicago, stone atheist, right? And hated Christianity. His wife started going to church, and they almost got a divorce over it. And he said to her, I'm going to prove to you I am a journalist. I'm going to do the research, and I'm going to prove to you what an idiot you are. So he told his wife, yeah. So he starts doing his research. He's become probably the strongest Christian that there is out there. Yes. I cannot believe I can't think of his name. I'm so embarrassed. But anyway, I will. And he's a friend of mine. I can't think of his name. He's still in Chicago. But anyway, he's written a series of books, A Case for Christ, A Case for Creation, A Case for the Real God, that you really should read. I really mean that, because he will provide evidence, and you'll take it from there and say, is this reliable or not? And I think you'll come to the same conclusion. Now, I didn't read those books then because he hadn't written them yet. He wrote, but I recommend these books a lot. But prove it to yourself, because it's hard to believe in something that you don't really know if it's true. Now you say, well, Michael, we've really never seen God. I know, but there's enough evidence that people have. And scripture is very definite in things. And remember something too about Old Testament prophecy. Every prophet that prophesied, every prophecy has been fulfilled so far. There's still those that haven't, but everyone that predicted has come true. A prophet is only a prophet if he's true, if he's accurate 1,000,000% of the time. If he's ever not accurate, he's not a prophet because he's speaking, God is speaking through him. God can't be inaccurate. So far, every prophecy has come true that has been prophesied, and there's still more to come. Some of them scary, but the evidence is overwhelming. It's overwhelming. It's not even, I don't understand how people don't believe. I really don't. I don't understand it. But again, I have the advantage of doing all the work and research. It's not everybody that has the advantage of spending 29 months and 7 days in solitary with nothing else to do but research.
When you think if somebody came to your 25-year-old self saying these things, what would he have done? What you just said? Sure.
I may not have paid attention. Probably not. I was too involved in everything that I was doing.
Yeah.
But now I'm saying I want to shake somebody and say, wake up, man. Eternity is forever. It's scary. It's scary. And look, everybody's afraid of death. There's no question because it's the unknown. But you get a lot more secure when you have pretty strong beliefs based upon evidence.
Mm-hmm. Do you think, well, 2 questions to finish us off. First one, what do you feel like your purpose is here? Second of all, do you think you'll be forgiven for things that have been done in the past?
Well, number one, I know I have been forgiven because without that, that's the basis of our faith. If you don't believe that Jesus died on the cross for the forgiveness of your sins, then we don't have no faith. I mean, it's a waste of time. So I 100% believe that. And I believe that I'm sincere. Because look, I know how to pull a scam. But I also know you can't pull a scam on God. So either I'm real or I'm not. If I'm not, there's 4 words in the Bible that scare the hell out of me. And you probably didn't know. It's in the New Testament when, and this was a parable that Jesus talked about. I love that he talked in stories. He talked in parables to make his point. And there was 4 guys that stood in front of him and on Judgment Day, and they said, listen, we drove out demons in your name. We did this in your name. We created miracles in your name, did this and that and that. And he looked at them and he said these 4 words, I never knew you. Because everything they did for themselves. They didn't do it for the Lord, for their own gratification. It wasn't about him, it was about them. So every time I get up and speak, listen, I've been up, I'm going to be honest with you, I came down once off the stage and you would have thought I just was the Beatles or something. People are trying to grab at me. I'm really serious when I'm doing ministry. I mean, I put it all out there. And I'll never forget my wife, God bless her. I walk down and she sees me and she just remembers something. I said, what? She says, you're a lot more blessed than you are good. I said, I got it. In other words, don't get your head swelled. But I always check myself and say, who am I doing this for? Am I doing this for me or am I really doing it because I believe it? And, fortunately, my answer is, I'm doing it because this is what I feel my obligation is.
Yeah.
And so I believe I've been forgiven and I believe I'm going to heaven. That's the basis of my faith, number one. Number 2, my purpose is to continue doing this until I can't do it anymore. Because, look, I'm going to tell you this, and there's no ego involved in this. Look, you go to prison, your ego, if you don't lose your ego there, you're out of your mind. Because I seen the most powerful, the guys that had the power of life and death over you. In 1 second, hey, he goes, you're dead. And they died in prison answering to some 24-year-old guard that was telling them what to do. If we get full of ourselves and think we got it on, the next minute you could have nothing in this life. So you got to check yourself. So this is nothing about ego, but I will tell you this. I have never had a bad, at 2,000 events that I've been at, I've never had a bad event. Never. Because people are encouraged by the message. And so as long as I see that continuing, why would I stop?
But then that's it's difficult because you kind of said you want to chill out a little bit.
Well, no,
They have
that
responsibility to do it.
I think God will say, okay, you've done a lot. You don't have to be doing this every week. You know, I think I can pick and choose now, but I still have to answer the bell.
Yeah.
There's no question. Until I can't anymore. I mean, Billy Graham did it until he was in his 90s. You know, he was in a wheelchair and he was doing it. So, I mean, you feel an obligation. You know, to those who have been given much is expected in return. I've been given my freedom, my life. Do you know what? Give you an example. A couple of things. The night I got straightened out, the night I took my oath, there was 6 of us. I'm the only one alive today. The other 5 guys were all murdered. We had a big war in our family. Bunch of guys got killed. That happened. 1986, Fortune magazine writes this huge article, 50 biggest and most powerful mob bosses in the country, right? And they featured, it was half the magazine. They featured 6 of us. I'm one of the 6. And then they had a chart with the 50 of us on there, according to rank, wealth, and power. I'm the youngest guy on the list, number 18, right? And I said, how do they make a list like this? They didn't ask for our tax returns. You know, it was just so stupid. Guys on there shouldn't have been. I was ridiculous. But here's what's not stupid about the list. Some 30-odd years later, out of the 50, 48 of them are dead. Number 49 is in prison. I'm the only one alive and free. Only one. So, come on. You think that's an accident?
Yeah, that is actually pretty crazy.
You think that's an accident? Or I have a different purpose in life that's been given to me? One of the most precious things you can have in life is your freedom. People, you know this. People take your freedom. It's precious. So to be given my freedom and to be given my life, what more can I ask for?
Yeah.
I'm blessed. No matter what happens now, I mean, I'm 7. I'm going to be 3/4 of a century if I'm here next year. So, you know.
Amazing. I appreciate your time. I enjoyed that conversation.
Well, thank you. Same here.
Where can people find you've got a lot going on. You've got the pizza, you got the wine, school community.
Yeah, we'll give you all the posts. Franzese wine, we do direct to consumer. Also, we're in markets all over the country. Franzesewine.com. The pizza, you'll find it in grocery stores everywhere, hopefully in one major establishment that everybody knows all over the world. That might be happening soon. And then we'll have these vending machines that are being placed all over in hotels and everywhere else that you'll hear about it. Slices Pizza, you'll hear about it soon. But I'm easy to find. I've got my YouTube channel. I'm all over social media. And hopefully it'll be a movie that's worth seeing in the next year or so. We'll see.
Thank you.
But thank you very much.